Hello, in this video we are going to speak or I'm going to speak about how good are software developers from India really. So basically there's a big question regarding that because many people are trying to outsource to India. Some are not so successful, some are very successful. So there's still a knowledge gap on how good the developers from India really are. So just to give you an overview, what I do is I run a software company in India. I have an office in Cochin in Kerala. We have employ several software developers with PHP and ASP.NET experience, and we are continuously building software applications for our clients. So maybe because of that, I might be biased towards software development from developers from India. But the reality is, software development in India has come a long way from simple software programming. For example, there was this Y2K problem in the year 2000 where a lot of software developers were needed to reprogram the software so that the new date 2000 could be included because the dates were only going to 1999 in most of the softwares. So at that time, it was more like coding farms. So there were many developers sitting in offices just coding mundane tasks, and that continued for a long time because there was a huge demand for these kind of services. And India had a lot of engineering graduates who didn't have a job, so it was really good for training them and then giving them a simple job. And this continued for a while. I would say till the last till 2008 or 2009. Most companies like Infosys, Tata, consultancy services, and also a lot of smaller IT companies were providing software services for clients in Europe and in the US and other English speaking countries. So it was very much successful, but then slowly more complex kind of software were needed. For example, you see these kind of applications which are very fast, they are executing very quickly, and it was not like before when users were ready to wait for a few seconds or even maybe a minute for an application to load. But today, no one would accept that because people are used for web applications and software to immediately pop up and function. And also, what we have also seen is the creation of or the emergence of large scale software like Facebook or WhatsApp and other applications which need to run over a lot of different geographies, a lot of different servers, a lot of users which use this application at the same time. So you need really good developers, really experienced people who can solve these kind of or create such kind of solutions. So in the last few years, I would say in the last 7 to 10 years, India started to have better developers. I mean, people started to develop stronger solutions, and you can really see that. I mean, there are many companies. Actually, many people don't know that, but there are many smaller companies in Europe and in English-speaking countries who have development centers in India, and they are developing their software only in India. Even now, what has changed also is like there are even more Indian companies also coming out with software products. Like there's one company called Winify. They have a software called PushCrew, which is very successful all over the world. So basically, when you see a notification in the browser which says, okay, this website wants to um, give you updates on a regular basis, then usually these websites have PushCrew, the PushCrew plugin installed. They have another software also, the same company, which is called the Visual Website Optimizer, and that is also hugely successful. It is like a conversion optimization tool, um, and they have, I think, around 100 or 200 employees. I think they are based out of Delhi, And another software which is developed in India, it's called Zoho CRM, as a ZOHO, and that Zoho application is also used worldwide. And there's one very famous ERP open source solution, which is called Odoo. It's spelled ODOO. And the founder is from, I think, from Netherlands or some Scandinavian country. But the software is completely developed in India. For example, um, yeah, I think they have like 100 or 200 or even 300 people in India sitting and programming that software. So I think it's maybe one of the top three open source ERP systems. So as you see, many things are developed in India. There are nowadays many very good software developers, and companies like Amazon or Google have development offices in India, and they employ people, and they even give very large sums of salaries to these people. Of course, there's still a salary difference to Europe and the US when it comes to the average. So, but when you look at the higher end market, the salaries are almost the same. So, still there is a doubt. There will be always a doubt when someone starts working with India, because when you look in online forums or in or customer reviews, you will often see that it didn't work out with the software development team in India. And the reason for that is, I would say, culturally, it's a cultural thing because and not only cultural, yeah, the cultural difference is there, and there's a distance difference. I mean, if the developers are sitting far away, then there might be also some issues. But basically, what happens is like the companies in US or English speaking countries or Europe, they will try to find an outsourcing partner in India, and they will somehow select the company from India on the basis on which is giving the best offer. I mean, it seems like the best offer, the best price, the lowest price, or maybe the biggest, I mean, promises made. So they will give these projects to these companies. But the problem with that is like that will be usually a sales guy who or a business development person who speaks with the client and tries to convince them with any means necessary. Maybe it's a fresher who just came out of college with a few 1 2 years experience, and he tries to explain to the client what they can offer in terms of IT services, be it web development with PHP or ASP.NET, or software development with C++, Java, and so basically he want to make his quota, and he will tell anything to sell that services. That is one problem. And the other problem or challenge is that the software, I mean, many software companies, or even the bigger ones, also the smaller ones, what they do is like they will hire freshers with not much experience, and they will put these people on projects. And usually these projects won't succeed because to build a high scale application, you need a very good software developer. It is just not enough to put a junior guy with 1 2 years experience on these kind of projects. So the bigger companies, what they will do is like they will have some senior people in their companies who will guide these junior people and somehow rectify the issues. But in those cases, also the problem sometimes arises that the budget will be, I mean, the initial budget will be increased. So they will say, okay, we need more budget because timelines are not getting, they cannot keep the timelines and so on. So that will also cause some frustration. In smaller companies, this also happens, and there even the project sometimes fail because there is not enough experience in software development for these younger people. Maybe they have worked on bigger projects, but that particular developer might not have worked on bigger projects. So the main thing in being successful with India and getting really good software developers is like working closely with the IT company in India and they should be very transparent. So basically, they would, so for example, Software-Developer-India.com, what we do is like we will take the requirement from the client, then we will check in the market which has the developers are available, and we will hire them for our clients. So basically, the client. We will hire them into our payroll. So basically, we will pay the salaries. We will do all the tax calculations. We will have the office here in India where they work out from. We provide the internet facilities, but the developer will be exclusively working for one specific client. And the advantage here is that when the developer works directly with the client, then there will be no communication gap. And with time, the understanding between both parties will be much better. Also, on the client side, I mean, the client in Europe or in the US or English-speaking country should have someone who can do the quality control. Quality control in the sense that this guy or girl would check the code, the software code, which is delivered from India. So on a day-to-day basis, the client would check that what was promised is actually delivered. So this way, we can they can avoid um, what usually happens. For example, what usually happens is like the software development company will take the requirement and will put 2 3 people on the project, and they will give the first update in 1 or 2 months, and then the client finds out that nothing has been really done, or it was not up to the mark or what they expected. So this can be avoided when the developers work directly with the client, and I think that is one successful model which can be done. You could also give all your requirements to India. That is also not an issue, but in that case you would need to be ready to pay a higher rate, like maybe $30, 40 US dollars per hour. Plus you would of course need to pay also the project management in India, the testing, and all the other things which are related to software development, and so the price will be higher, and your saving margin might be only like 20-30%, but still 20-30% is a good amount of money you can save, and you can use that for other purposes. So so these are the two things to consider. Either you uh, find a company like Software-Developer-India.com who gives you hires developers in the payroll of the IT company here with us, and they will work directly with you. And you have a project manager who has technical knowledge about software development, who can look into the code after it has been delivered from the software developers. Or the other option is like you are really going for a very professional company, and you will be ready to pay a higher price, so that the software development company in India is able to provide actually very senior developers who can work on that project. So coming back to the question, whether there are good software developers in India, yes, there are. It is not like before, like for 10 years when there were no good developers who, because at that time only they did some simple programming and they didn't know how to build large scale applications. That has completely changed. You have really good developers in India, but when you outsource, you need to take care of this thing. Like you shouldn't try to save too much, because when you outsource for $15 or $20 an hour, the chance that it won't succeed is very high, because the software development company in India will not be able to provide good software developers for that rate, because the salaries in India have increased, especially in the IT sector. And if they want to put someone with a very good experience on your project, then you need to be ready to pay a higher price. So that is something you need to keep in mind, and not just you should not just rely on uh, some naive knowledge, thinking that yeah, India is still very much cheap. It might have been the case many years back, when the skill level was also very much lower. So basically, you would buy some simple software services from India, and would pay a lower price, and and you could sell it a higher price in Europe. Still, that is possible, but the amount you can save is lesser because the skill set which India or the software developers in India have acquired is very high and almost has a level which, or I would say, reaches a level which is common in Europe and US. So yeah, that is so basically that is an elaborate answer to this question whether there are good developers in India. It is it is more the approach on how you go about it than whether there are good developers, because there are bad ones, but there are also good ones. Okay, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, you can use the comment section below this YouTube video, or you can also visit our website at www.software-developer-india.com. You will find a link in the description, and kindly subscribe to this channel because there are other interesting videos which you can watch. Thank you very much.